Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You see the knife, you see the hatchet. It's Field Watch review time. Today it is a new watch from the Swiss watch company, their GMT field watch, the ARK GMT. I've never seen a field watch with a GMT complication. I've never seen a watch that looks like this, so I'm excited to jump in. All right, quick, before we take a look at the watch, let's just see what you get with the watch. This is a really nice, really soft leather watch case, bag, pouch, whatever you want to call it, room for 2 watches. The ARK GMT comes with a 3-year warranty. Mine also came with a really nice note from the family behind the company. Now let's take a look at this beauty. So this is a 38 millimeter in diameter watch, 20 millimeter lug width, 46 millimeters lug to lug, and just 9 millimeters thick. Inside is a Swiss Ronda quartz movement, signed crown, push, pull, but they do say 100 meters of water resistance. They've added some O-rings, 3 O-rings, they say, make this a 100 meter water resistant watch. Flat sapphire crystal with a whole bunch of anti-reflective coating on it, and it's working. The crystal disappears in certain angles. I've heard other watch channels say that sentence before, but I've never had a watch in my hand where it actually was true. But look at that, super cool. You'll also notice this is a concave dial. They say it's to get rid of shadows. We might be able to make some shadows, but either way, it's super legible any way you twist this watch. And just from a design standpoint, the concave dial to me is really cool. I have this sage gray colorway in my hand. I think there's 5 other colors. There's black, there's light blue, dark blue, a really cool red. I'll pull up some images if you want to choose between them. But let's look at this watch a little bit closer. This case, I love this case. Mix of brush and high polish. The bezel, which is thin, which makes this appear maybe a little bit bigger than 38 millimeters, is a high polish bezel. Then there's brushing on the tops of the lugs, then another high polish bevel that separates the top of the lugs from the side of the case. A really elevated watch. I'm going to be using that word a lot because this isn't just a field watch. This is a watch that would be at home almost anywhere. This is a GADA watch, a go anywhere, do anything watch. It's a field watch, but you can also wear it to work. You could wear it to some fancier occasions because of these elevated touches. There we go. Should I make an elevated counter here? Are we at 2 so far? But that's what really stands out to me about this watch. The strap is a calf on top, rubber on bottom strap, quick release pins, really nice signed high polish buckle, which again adds an elevated touch. Ding. Looking at the, well, let's turn it around first. The back, the screw down case back gives you some stats. All right, let's look at the star of the show. The dial is almost entirely printed, except for that one applied piece of the Swiss watch company logo right there. It almost looks like the Polaris star or maybe a cross. That shiny piece of possible stainless steel is the only applied element on this dial. Everything else is printed on. Arabic numerals all around. They are all loomed with this orange outline. Really cool hands. They're almost like a marriage between cathedral and fence post hands. Another elevated touch. Swiss watch company below the 12 GMT and a window above the 6. Either side of the 6 says Swiss made. And that window is the star of the show because that window is the GMT function. So this isn't a classic 4-hand GMT watch. The 24-hour capabilities is in that window. So if you pull this crown out one stop, you can see those numbers moving. It almost looks like an analog scale. So you can set whatever alternate time zone you want. And then if you pull the crown out to its second position, you can watch that 24-hour capability follow along with the hands of the watch. I've never seen a watch with a GMT function like this before. It's a really clever way to have a GMT function without cluttering up the dial, without adding an extra hand, and keep it looking as much like a field watch as possible. That is the goal of this, I would believe. So just another really cool detail. Speaking of details, the sage gray dial seems to have certain steps in color. Depending on how the light catches it, it looks like 3. You see a thin, darker on the outside, then lighter, then lightest in the middle. Just a really classy watch. They also have a bunch of Swiss Luminova. Let's see how well it glows. I mean, glowing fairly well. Let's see, I got a Vostok that was just hanging out in the table next to me. Upside down. I would call that glowing equal or better than the Vostok dive watch. Everything is lumed too, so we have every numeral, we have the hands, we have the little lollipop on the other end of the second hand. That's a legible watch. All right, let's cut to a wrist shot. Here it is on wrist, and again, I can hardly see the crystal. That's above the bone. There it is below the wrist bone. Also, like we talked about, the thinness of the bezel does make this appear larger than a 38 millimeter watch. I have a 7¼ inch wrist, so I have no problem fitting this on me. Also, the compact 46 millimeter lug to lug will help smaller wrists. But if we get, for instance, just this 38 millimeter DIY watch club watch, is it worth getting a DIY watch? There's a video about it. Appears much smaller, even though, again, 38 millimeter diameter, but the dial itself is just smaller. So any negatives to consider? Well, just 2. One of them they know about, Swiss Watch Company does. You see I'm on the second to last hole on the watch band. This really only fits up to 7½ inch wrists. I have a 7¼ and I am pushing it. It's also almost impossible to get it into these keepers. So that would be an issue, especially if you really want this kind of watch band. But they do have a solution, which is write them a note and they will send a NATO strap with this watch instead, and that will fit all kinds of wrists. The only other issue might be specifically this colorway, but it is rather hard to see the 24-hour counter, the GMT function. The orange kind of disappears for me. I can just make it out through the camera. Some other colorways are different though. For instance, the red watch has a really high contrast yellow on it and you can see it a lot easier. I think maybe if this was in white instead of orange, that would be helpful. But as I clean my fingerprints off this watch, the price tag for this is $250. You get a lot for that money. A GMT function, sapphire, 100 meters water resistance, a gorgeous stainless steel case, and a watch that can follow you wherever you go. This won't just be, oh, my field watch for the field, when I go camping, when I'm out in the woods. You could have this be a one-watch collection in many ways because of its versatility. The elevated designs on this watch mean that you can take it really anywhere, which is really helpful, especially if you're on a budget, and this is a budget watch channel. Speaking of the channel, thanks for watching. As always, a subscription down below really does help, and I'd love to know what you think of the Sage Gray Swiss Watch Company ARK GMT field watch. Oh, one more thing. Speaking of elevated, there's a design choice here that I forgot to mention. There's no minute or second track, only hour markers. So there's that little change. Usually field watches want to be like precise and have all these, 24-hour numbers inside the 12-hour numbers. And no, nice kind of abstract design on this watch. Although you want to talk about precision, watch it hit the marker. Boom. Can it do it again? Boom. I knew that was going to happen. It does it every time. So precise when it hits those markers, but no second or minute markers. Again, just an elevated design choice to make this watch that more versatile. All right, that's it for real this time. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Boom.